There's Wi-Fi here. Shlama Shalom and Salam. Welcome, everyone, and hello to everybody. This is the Mona K Show. I'm your host, Mona K Oshana. I hope everyone is doing well, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Invite your friends and like our page if you don't mind. We've got an important subject that we want to talk about today. I want to thank all those that were inquiring about me for the past couple of weeks. I was down. I had a bronchial infection, and it took a toll on me. Even after recovery, I was so exhausted. I had no energy. So I want to thank all of those that were asking and wondering. And I'm back. So thank you all for your prayers, for your great thoughts during this week as we are celebrating the fourth week of the Annunciation. We're getting close to Christmas as we are approaching the celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Happy birthday, Jesus. We will never forget that it is, in fact, his birthday, and we are not afraid or intimidated to say Merry Christmas. I hope everyone is doing well, once again, and in good spirits. Let's remember to keep our focus on the reason for the season and keep praising God, for he is still in control. I know there's a lot going on around us and a lot of concern about what's going on, but let's keep our head up high and always holding our hands up high and praising him, because he is in control. And I also want to wish our Jewish friends and family a very happy Hanukkah. May you be blessed and highly favored during this very holy season. As Psalm 63:4 says, "So I will bless you as long as I live. I will lift up my hands in your name." Let's not forget to praise his name, especially during this season that he is born among us, God becoming human and taking on human flesh and coming to be born of the Virgin Mary, as the prophecy had spoken in the Old Testament, to say that a child will be born of a virgin. His name shall be called Emmanuel, God with us. Amman Nuel, Amman Alaha, God be with us. Tonight we start, however, with a very sad breaking news that we received. The son of our community that has been missing since September. And all of you know that Najib, also known as Juby, and there was a hashtag, Find Juby, who is an autistic 20-year-old man. Last name is Munsif, was found dead in Arizona today in Mesa, Arizona. Actually, it's so sad. On behalf of everyone at the Mona K Show, we extend our deepest condolences to the Munson family. I did reach out to them to give them my condolences as well, and we reached out before that hand to actually extend our help if they needed it. All I can say and all I can pray right now is that Juby is in a better place. We are assured as Christians that we know Juby it was a Christian, is a Christian. Juby is in the arms of Jesus, where he will be celebrating Jesus' birthday along with him. Christmas being Jesus' birthday, he's going to be celebrating it with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I want to show you a clip of the ABC News breaking news that was shown earlier today.
A devastating update now on the months-long search for that captivated Arizona. Najib Jubi Mansif, a developmentally disabled man missing since September. He has been found dead. Scottsdale police confirming Jubi's body was found at a canal pump station and says at this time there are no signs of foul play. Volunteers, police, and detectives, they have been searching near his home in teams for months. Our thoughts go out to his family reacting to that news today.
Juby was found at the canal pump station near Loop 202 Red Mountain and Power Road. Police say the remains have been forensically confirmed to belong to Mansif, and I know that foul play, they said, is not suspected in his death. Of course, we'll bring you more details as we get them, as we find out, as we all find out, of course, what exactly happened to Juby. And I know that about a week or two ago, I remember seeing a news conference or a news article about his father saying that he was offering a $100,000 reward for anyone that would give information to find Juby. Rest in peace, Juby. We are very sad during this Christmas season to get this very bad news, but as we've said, we know that he's in the arms of Jesus. Rest in peace, and our deepest condolences to the family. And I also want to talk about the police officer, and I'm trying to bring up the actual story that we were sharing today. The police officer that let me try to get his name. I'm reading it off of my iPad. And a suspect was, in fact, police officer has been hospitalized after being shot. The person responsible is in custody, the department said Tuesday. According to Sergeant Vincent Colt, officers were investigating reports of vehicle driving erratically near 19th Avenue and Camelback near just about 2 a.m. Police located a car matching the description. And of course, Tyler Moldovan was the officer name. So I want to ask everyone to please keep Tyler Moldovan in your prayers. He was shot multiple times in Phoenix. He is in critical condition. We don't have an update, but he is fighting for his life. Once again, please raise him in your prayers. Officer Tyler Moldovan. He has a wife. He's 22 years old. My heart just breaks. He's a friend of a friend with my kids. They know of him, and they might have even have known him, not sure. But it's an unfortunate situation what our police officers were facing out there. So let's lift up the police, all of the of course first responders, but in particular right now Tyler Moldovan, who is fighting for his life. And I just wanted to kind of mention that along with everything else. Now, on to our program and what the topic of subject. And feel free for those of you that have tuned in, if you have any questions or concerns, and if you have any comments, please. Fred will, in fact, if I don't see them readily, Fred will bring them up, and I will discuss them as we go along. But I want to start out by as we get near to the end of another year. Of course, who can believe that 2021 is over? And thank God it's over. I mean, we suffered enough in 2020. 2021 was a residual of everything that was going on with the COVID situation. And here we are, 2021 is over and getting ready to welcome 2022. And we pray that the next year is going to be much, much better than what we faced in the last 2 years. As we near the end of the year, I'd like to take the time on today's program to actually reiterate the vital mission of this program. And many of you that are tuning in for the first time, you see the Mona K Show, you're tuning in, and thank you so much for tuning in. Please share it with your friends. But many of you don't realize that this program started on radio for 3 years. It started on September the 24th in 2015. The show came about as a result of an overwhelming reaction to the continuous chaos that was happening in the Middle East after the toppling of Saddam Hussein and the invasion of ISIS. As if that was the first time. People were just flabbergasted to see all of that happening. Now, here at the program, we remind ourselves of our vision, and we must never forget our purpose. And always, we try to hold ourselves accountable. First, to ask ourselves, are we, or have we, or will we, or are we online to accomplish our goal? And that's the question I want to answer today. This question is really hard to answer since the program and the mission of the program is multifaceted. It's not just a matter of talking about ISIS and Al Qaeda and talking about Saddam Hussein. It is not just about that. We've been on the air since September 24th of 2015 and have been working nonstop to build a platform. And this is the mission. It's to build a platform to raise awareness of the people's struggle. What people? Because coming from the Assyrian community, or being born in this ancient community, the Assyrian community, we see that no one's talking about the struggle that we've been facing in the Middle East, not just through Saddam Hussein, Al Qaeda, or ISIS, but overall. We've been struggling, and many of you that are listening that are Assyrians can relate to that. Many of you escaped the Middle Eastern countries for that reason. Our focus has been on the Assyrian Christians, since the story of their suffrage goes beyond anything that we hear in the news. It's only lately that we see it in social media that people are going, ooh, they're oohing and eyeing. But you and I, those of us that have come from the Middle East, the survivors of the genocides, we know. We know. And this is what this program is about. Now, from the inception, when we launched our program on 9/24/15, it was the reason because I started to get interviewed. People were seeking, because I had my 2 books out there, people started seeking to talk to us. And I'm sure many of you that are out there from all over the country, the world, people have sought you out because you're an Assyrian or a Christian genocide survivor from the Middle East. I'm sure many networks have wanted to get your story. But here's what happened to us. I got so tired of being asked by the media to give a reply, and it was a 30-second reply, but then they only used 15 seconds of it. And even that didn't make a point. It was just to fill their narrative or to follow their narrative. So how can you give a reaction when you're being asked about the latest beheading, the latest attack of ISIS on people that were beheaded, or people that were kidnapped and were tortured, and women from the Yazidi community, from other communities being kidnapped and becoming sex slaves to ISIS, or mothers' cries for their daughters that were just kidnapped by just terrorist groups all over, and or a father's cries, as he watches his family being brutalized. How do you answer that question in 30 seconds or less? Um, People have become desensitized to our human side, that we are trying to fit this catastrophe or devastation within a given time slot so we can go into a commercial. This is all they were doing, is they were trying to get the story, hurry up and tell your story so we can get paid because a commercial is coming up. And this is the narrative that I'm giving you right now. What I'm speaking to you right now is what I wrote in 2015. This is exactly what I wrote. I know and understand TV, but you would have to think there would be a little more sensitivity and a little more compassion. This is the reason why I started the Mona K Show, because nobody Nobody was telling the story. Even an hour is not enough. Even though we have an hour, it's not enough. And we'll try to do justice within, maybe 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes of airtime. But the story will miss a lot of it. The same Middle East that we thought we could swat, or the world thought, oh, it's just the Middle East. We'll just kind of swat it away like a fly. Well, but proved otherwise to the world, in spite of the involvement of the greatest superpower of the world. The region has become more turbulent, more dangerous, more powerful, and more fanatical groups have risen, becoming a greater threat and climbed higher on any level of security risk in the history of the world. Why? Because the problem was never solved. And when a problem is not resolved the right way, it comes back to bite us and we end up paying a heavier price later. The price we paid and continue to pay today through the lost lives of our beloved sons and daughters in the line of duty of our brave military, US military, for the protection of our great country has been, and I hope to God, and I hate to say this really, but it has become for naught. All those soldiers that died in Iraq and in Syria and recently Afghanistan, the withdrawal, the chaotic withdrawal without a plan and strategy, it's just disgusting. And so how many more lives are going to be lost before we figure out that we need to break this down, and we need to fight this enemy head on. No one appreciates the military more than you and I, immigrants that are listening today. Nobody appreciates the military more than we do, because we come from oppressive countries and those that protect us. And that's why my heart goes out to Officer Tyler, that is in the hospital right now fighting for his life, because I appreciate the 22-year-old of all things. So we should never take our country for granted. We should also never underestimate our enemies. And we did. And we did for a long time. I know now America's awake, or in the process of being awakened, but we didn't always. We as Americans are so used to thinking that when our military gets involved, we get the job done. Well, that's not what happened. We left the region, and that is Iraq and other places, without getting the job done, but not at the fault of our brave soldiers, but because of politics and the way that we were withdrawn. If it's a Democratic or a Republican president, of course, they have different policies. So what we are witnessing in Iraq and Syria is nothing more than regurgitation, just regurgitation of an existing problem that is recurring from a lawless corruption, of course, lack of policy, or of course lack of no policy whatsoever. So the Middle East is so diverse, in not only for their many religions that are out there, many people from different backgrounds that live there. It's a pot that ingredients don't melt, they gotta stay. It's not like America, where you have a melting pot that melts. But they have different ethnicities, they have different culture, they have different traditions, and they have different languages. We must understand, and this is what we didn't do. We should have understood the region before we attempted to approach a solution. As a minority, or what we were called as a minority in the region, we must learn to live alongside each other and find commonalities. And that's us, the Christians, the Muslims, the Yazidis, the Turks, and all of the elements that make up those countries. Granted, the Christians of the Middle East have been the community that has suffered the most, but there are also other ethnic groups that have suffered: the Shiites, the Kurds, the Yazidis, and the Shabaks. However, with the exception of the Yazidis and the Shabaks, all other ethnic groups that have been oppressed have been as a result of territorial or political uprisings, one against the other. And I know there are many Arabs, Shiites, Sunnis, that will tell you, oh, we suffer too. But yeah, if you think about it, those kinds of conflicts have been going on for 1700 years. So those have been going on, and it's territorial, it's ethnic, it's tribal. But with the Christians, it's been specifically for their faith and identity. So we intend to tell the stories here in the program and give personal testimonies. And this is where I will look to all of you, my fellow Assyrians that are out there. If you're interested in telling your story of your escape, of your life, and why you came to America, I'd love to hear about it. Message me, and if you want to be on the program, I'd love to have you. So this is the testimonials of the survival and perseverance because I don't want to just talk about ISIS beheading Christians and other people. We want to talk about the resiliency of the Christians, of the Assyrians, of those people that have actually survived. We will attempt to alleviate the confusion and misconception on the whole Middle Eastern issue, because who knows the story better than you and I? We will allow you to call us and ask questions and hope that we can answer it for you. And so we hope that we hope this is that there's going to be enough information so that we can transform or give you or lay to rest the misinformation out there, that I can't stand to just stand still and stay quiet anymore about things that are happening in the Middle East, as far as what people feel and think that is going on. I feel the need to be constantly talking, constantly answering questions, constantly explaining who I am and where I come from. This question of who are the Assyrians, and all you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is Google Assyrians, and you'll have pages and pages, and I think it's like multiple pages of who the Assyrians are, who they are today, because people have been writing about the Assyrians for so long. And yes, we are the Assyrians of the biblical time. There's so much tension, so much drama, and so much fear and uncertainty that people are reactive rather than being proactive. Hopefully, on this program going forward, we will discuss more issues and address the concerns rationally with facts, without any intimidation or fear. Having said that, we are here to also set the record straight on all that is going on and give you firsthand accounts of what is really happening in the Middle East and how it affects us all here in the West. Because don't think that what happens over there stays over there. It's going to affect us here. It's a domino effect. This information that we provide on this program will be used so the world can understand which side to stand on, and we can't do that unless we know the truth. Now, a lot of people will say refugees, and we'll speak about this, and we'll speak about legal immigration and all that. It really isn't fair when you have a legal immigrant community like ours, the Assyrians, who came in, and I'm going to show you a video in a little bit about what my point about where I'm going with this, and you'll understand why I'm talking about this right now, because we have a big problem that no one seems to be still, after 6 years on the air talking about what we are going through right now. People are still not listening. If we have distortion or half truths, we will end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Why? Because we're not going to have a solution. We're just going to say, oh, throw them all out or let them all in. So it's either or. We cannot be in an extreme. We have to be strategic. We have to understand the issues. And you know what? Some people will need to be rejected. Some people will not. But here's where I'm going with this. So just bear with me. We will reject the good with the bad and end up missing the opportunity of coming to the rescue of the innocent. The point being is the innocent, the victims, need to be rescued. But when you are rescuing the victim and the perpetrator, because you are aligning them together, that's wrong. And this is where we need to separate. This is where we need to understand who is the perpetrator and who's the victim. And we need to, and when the immigration law is made for the oppressed, made for those that are escaping, not for those that are coming to kill, coming to destroy, coming to steal. And there is no differentiation between that, because there's no vetting. So this is where I want to go with this. As we continue to build on the awareness and wake up America to what's going on through our activism, we were able, and this is the video, Fred, get it ready if you don't mind, of the rally. I want to just set it up. As we continue to build on this awareness, we started to become active in the community in whatever measures that we needed it. Now, you might think, well, I was active in the political field. Yes, but I'm more of a humanitarian than anything else. And I'm more concerned about the people I left behind. Through our activism, we were able to make connection with officials in office through rallies and other events to speak about the forgotten community that is still suffering. Here is such an example where I asked a question of Congressman here in Arizona, of Andy Biggs and Congressman Paul Gosar, at a rally that we were having at the time of the election. And here's the question I asked them, and I'm going to speak about it after we show the video. Go ahead, Fred.
Thank you for this town hall. First of all, I am a legal immigrant. Which is not just a slogan. It is a call for action. We escape socialism, communism, the dictatorship of both Saddam Hussein and Khomeini of Iran. We're from Iraq and Iran. We are not, and with all due respect to the people that live in the border, we don't live next to the border so that we're able to jump walls or be able to come in. We were vetted. We waited, despite the fact that we are Christian genocide survivors. We waited, and we were vetted, and we stayed in refugee camps until we got into America. And we're very proud, and we always say that we were Americans before coming to America, because we had that mindset of Americans. So, point out an issue that's being overlooked. There are many, and I have respect for all religions, but because of the fact that many Christians are scattered all over the world, there is a Christian community all over refugee camps in the world still suffering, that are not being given their visas, and they're still 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, regardless of, and it goes way beyond ISIS. What is going to be done about it? And this is not to choose one religion over the other, but Christians who have been fighting on behalf of all Christendom in the world, in the face of the most brutal enemy being beheaded and being killed for their faith. Assyrians are totally holy Christians. What is being done in Washington to notice this problem, that there are Christians stuck in refugee camps that are coming to us right now and asking, what is the president going to do about
this? So this was the question that I posed that really got, it didn't get a very good answer. They said that there's nothing being done in Washington, which really was not the answer that we were looking for. So if Washington's not doing anything, then what's happening? And let me kind of go back as to what's going on. As many of you know, ISIS attacked Mosul in 2014. ISIS attacked when Saddam Hussein, let me go back a little bit about 2003. When 2003 Saddam Hussein was toppled, who was the first person that who was the first community that fell through the cracks? The Christians. And at the time we had gone to, and some people, not myself, but people had gone to the Bush administration and had told them to protect the Christians because they are considered a minority and they're a group that is going to be without protection, will in fact be brutalized, will be attacked. Nothing was done because the administration or the policy of America was that, the foreign policy of America was that we cannot favor one group over another because of the ethnic diversion of Iraq. They could not just pinpoint and say, we're going to protect the Christians and not the others. And as a result of that, what happened? In 2004, 2005, Al-Qaeda, because the borders remained open, Al-Qaeda came in. And Al-Qaeda did what? You remember what Al-Qaeda did? The Christians of the Middle East, the Assyrians, continued to fall through the cracks at that time. And in the refugee camps that they were in, I know that Fred is showing pictures across the world that they had actually felt completely abandoned and without hope. So 2003, Al-Qaeda came. They drove out the Christians of central Iraq. And then 2014, ISIS hit. And when ISIS hit, you know what they did, right? They banished all of the Christians, and they had put that letter, and many of you I know are familiar with the red noon. With the red noon is like a little boat with a dot in the center that actually told ISIS, which houses are Christians, and they basically gave them no choice but to say, either you leave, you die, or you convert. And the conversion wasn't an issue because, and if you wanted, you couldn't just say, I'm converting. You had to either give your son for marriage, or have them, or daughters were taken. So a lot of persecution, a lot of sacrifices were made. So all of the Christians left. And I want to get to the picture, Fred, of the one that's in the tent. It's very important that we see that one picture in the tent. and it's written in Arabic. And of course, I don't really read good Arabic, but it said, and if we can get to that picture, yeah, this one. It says, Yesur. What does that say? Yesur Nur al-Alam. Jesus is the light of the world. I want to just keep it to that picture, Fred, because it's very important that people understand what's going on. This tent was outside of Mosul. So people had a house inside of Mosul, and this is outside of the border of Mosul, where ISIS in broad daylight invaded Mosul. And one of the oldest cities in the world is Mosul. Just look up Mosul, okay? And most of the residents are Christians. Now, nowadays, there are more, Arabs and other ethnic groups that were living in there, but mostly they've always been Assyrians. And those Assyrians, they are now have been divided by the enemy, and they are calling themselves under different names: Chaldeans, Syriacs, Jacobites, but they're all Assyrians as far as I'm concerned, and with all due respect to those that will disagree with me today. But nevertheless, when they were banished, this particular tent was built outside of the borders of Mosul. And this is to say to the enemy, you gave me the scarlet letter. You painted my house, and you labeled me with the scarlet letter of noon to say that I don't belong there. I'm a Christian. I need to leave because I am of course, kafir, And so here I am outside of the border of Mosul. But guess what I have on my tent? In Arabic and English, so everybody can see. And this is one of the oldest pictures that you can find actually in the internet, which says Yesur. I keep wanting to go back to the word Yesur Nur al-Alam, which is the light of the world. That Christ is the light of the world. And this is to say in their face, to the enemy's face, that we will not deny Christ. Now, these refugees have moved on beyond this border, and they've gone all across the world. And so our heart breaks, of course, as Assyrians. We won't forget those people that are in refugee camps and everywhere. People are calling us and saying, what are you going to do for us? We're stuck in these refugee camps. And look at them. I mean, this is at the time that that they were banished. They were in churches. And who became the safe haven? The churches. The churches became the houses the safe haven that took in these banished individuals that had nowhere else to go. They fed them, they clothed them, they did the best for them. And look at these pictures. These were the refugees. But let me ask you something. Who's talking about them right now? Who is talking about these refugees? Where are they? Where are they? Where did they go? Where did they banish to? Are they, is this a problem that America, Europe, everyone, Christians in general, these are Christians. These are Christians that were banished for their faith. Where is the body of Christ? The world global body of Christ. And this is what my question was about when I went to this rally. And Congressman Gosar and Congressman Andy Biggs were there. And I asked him, I said, what's the president at the time, it was President Trump, is going to do about it? And nobody knows what to do about it. And of course, Congressman Andy Biggs answers later. You didn't get to hear it, but he basically says nothing is being done. Not enough is being done. Now, after this question, I went back and I sat down. Representatives from Congressman Paul Gosar's office came and spoke in my ear and said quietly, because people were talking, they said, please contact our office. We'd like to be able to help you. I couldn't tell you how happy I was. And so I got into contact with Congressman Paul Gosar's office, and they asked me to send a letter. And here's the letter, and I'm going to read it to you, because my question again is right now, who is even asking about the refugees? Who is asking about these refugees that have gone on to refugee camps, and they're Christian genocide survivors? I mean, to the extreme where, I call myself a Christian genocide survivor to the third generation because of my mom, because of her mom, because of the other generations. But these are outright ISIS, Al Qaeda. Who's asking about them? I am talking to, if I'm not talking to a politician right now, I am talking to the body of Christ. Christians everywhere, where are you? Where are you when you are seeing this? The problem's not going to go away just because you turn off your TV or turn on or go to sleep, or you on social media you're not seeing anything on social media. It doesn't make the problem go away. It's still there. Here is the letter that I wrote, and I'm going to rewrite it again, and I'm going to republish it again until somebody hears us. Here's what I said. The Christians of the Middle East, the Assyrian, continue to fall through the cracks of all sorts of political controversy in the Middle East and in refugee camps across the world. They feel they have been completely abandoned, and they have no hope. We hear politicians making promises to help the victims of ISIS, genocide helping Christians, but Christians have pretty much been decimated with time and no help in sight under yours and my watch. And I'm talking to us as Christians as well. Our plea today is not to go against the immigration policy of our country, but to bring attention to the plight of a population, a forgotten nation, at the brink of complete extinction if not rescued. The Christians have been rejected in their ancestral homeland, including other less fanatical Islamic countries, and no other Christian country will take them. So, you've got Syria, you've got Jordan, which are not as fanatical. You've got surrounding countries, Arab countries. They can't take no more refugees. They are up to here. They can't take it no more. When at the time that we escaped, we went in Jordan. There was no such problem of refugees. We escaped during a time where all of this had not exploded yet. ISIS wasn't there. We had a fanatical madman named Saddam Hussein who was destroying the country, and we felt it. And thank God for my mom's intuition, we left. Now, where did they go? I'm asking in my letter, where did they go? Have you asked yourself, where did these refugees go? Where are they? This is why we called our mission, and this is what I'm talking about today. Our mission is called Refugee Stuck. They're stuck all over refugee camps. No one's asking about them. All we're getting is phone calls. To tell you the truth, have stopped taking calls from international calls because I know what they're going to ask me. What can you do to help us? And my heart breaks. My heart breaks. I sleep crying for these people. Who can they turn to? Who does the world have to turn to for help other than the land of the free and the home of the brave? Really? Think about it. The Assyrians are suffering in refugee camps and have no help coming from anywhere. We've detailed cases that we need to help move along. Some of these struggling people have been in refugee camps from 5 to about, 15 years. Keep in mind, after Saddam Hussein was ousted, Christian Assyrians became the first target of Al Qaeda and other fanatical Islamic terrorists. Remember, the option that was temporarily sensationalized in the news and forgotten later, remember that? They were saying, oh, Christians are being persecuted. They're being asked, convert, pay the jizya, or die. And then you turn the page, and then you turn the channel. It was done. It was the only Christians who were targeted with this attack. I don't know anyone else and any other community, any other nation, any other ethnic group that was given this choice. Now, for those that are saying, why only are you talking about the Christians? Who else was given convert, pay the jizya, or die? Who else was given this choice? And it's no choice, really. That's not a choice at all. This is what drove most of the Christians out of the country, escaping rather than giving up their faith. They escaped rather than, and this is why this tent that I keep showing, Masih Nur al-Alam, Jesus is the light of the world, is important, because they would rather die. They would rather give up their ancestral homelands rather than convert. So this is why it's very important that as Christians, if you're listening to my voice out there, it's very important that you stand up and you help, because we need to come together. We need to become not the weak link, but the chain that holds everything together. Many lost their lives, however, because they were unable to escape. In 2003, when we as advocates warned, and I say we because I was part of a group, but I wasn't the one that actually did this. So I can't take credit for it. We can't take credit for it. It was the group that was working before us. When they warned the George W. Bush administration to look after the Christians, warning them that they would become the easy target, their initial response was that they could not show favoritism towards one ethnic group against the many groups in Iraq. I asked a question today: who ended up suffering the most? Along with the Yazidis, I have to mention them as well. But who else? Who else? Our warning was unheeded, and the Assyrians, who were the most vulnerable, became easiest target. This is when and how this innocent population of Christians has become displaced, wandering the world, unable to find a place to call home. It's a shame for the world to watch. We're suggesting a special council or committee at the federal level be established to look at the tragic case of the Assyrians that have now become nomads. Assyrians' ancestral homeland is Mesopotamia, and now you see Assyrians all over the world. We can provide all the information you might need to facilitate the process for your consideration. We would bring witnesses, verify their personal experience. And so we're pleading in this letter saying we are pleading with Congressman Gosar, Congressman Debbie Lesko, and any politician with a heart to not only listen to this unique case, but act as it is not an average immigration request. And so we've reached out to both Congressman Paul Gosar once again, and we've reached to our champion that's always championed the Assyrian causes. We are her constituents, of course, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko. I've spoken to both of their offices, and I've spoken to one of them, and then I'm due to speak to the other one. Hopefully, we can get this done. So what I'm asking for all of you that are listening right now, to once we get this mission, once we get this project on the way, and we get a little bit further along, I'm going to ask you, if you are in these districts, Congressman Gosar and Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, to send them letters and to let them know that you are in favor of and you are wanting updates, or you are interested and you are in favor of this mission that we are calling Refugee Stuck. Our nation just celebrated 67, 70 years, New Year. Our national name, Assyria, is defined as God in the beginning. For the first letter of the name of God, which is God, Allah. We call him, the name Allah, Elab, God, as and then Ashuraya. The real name of our nation actually is Ashuraya. Shuraya means beginning. So Ashuraya, God in the beginning. So the words of the Bible are what? In the beginning, God. But in the Aramaic translated Bible, it's actually God in the beginning. So we were always there from the beginning, and it would be a shame for this nation to stop existing. So again, it's a shame. It would be a tragedy beyond history to allow such a community to disappear when there is clearly something that all of us can be done. This is why, and I have, of course, I will not forget, and if Dr. Susek is watching, I will never forget you, of course. Remember, this is why Dr. Susek's mission and the book, The Assyrian Prophecy, comes for such a time as this. It's a perfect time. The Assyrians still have an unfulfilled prophecy on their lives that must come to pass. We will not stop speaking up nor standing tall for this cause. The Assyrians have endured much on behalf of all Christendom and must be aided in this time of their need, because the Assyrians have stood for the Christian communities everywhere, for Christianity in general. And Dr. Susek actually confirms this in his book and says, the enemy has a target on the back of the Assyrians because we were one of the greatest missionaries on the planet, at the point where we brought people to Christ, and our church counted over 80 million members. And so it's very important that we don't forget this community that has done so much for us, not only through civilization, through their creativity, ingenuity, but also through their faith. The amazing untold story of this ancient people is not the current miserable, dismal situation of persecution and oppression that we see, but the real story is in their resilience and their ability to beat all odds and survive. And no one is studying it. No one is studying how this stateless country, without a country, pretty much without a leader, with the exception of the Holy Church, that heads us and that has protected us and has taken us under its wing. And we're going to be doing a lot more stories about how the church helps this nation to survive, became the state within a state, became the state church that actually helped us survive. I am one of those people that in Chicago, if it wasn't for my mother, pulling me into the church, I would have been lost. I wouldn't be here telling this story. I wouldn't be here resonating this message. And so it's very important that you understand why this program is designed like it is, and why we are doing this program, and why it is important that we remain on the air. And with your help and, of course, viewership, we can grow it. Now, I am here, not to talk about myself, but my story is the story of many people that are out there, and many of you that are out there, and I see people are watching and listening, and you can resonate that story. Once again, if you have a story that you want to tell, if you survived in the Middle East, and I want to focus on the Middle East, not because I don't respect other people's survival story, but this is a story of the Middle East, because you have a nation that is stateless, that is pretty much without a leadership as far as secular politics goes, or secular life goes. It's a church that has kept us alive. If it wasn't for the church, we would have lost our identity, we would have lost our language, we would have lost our faith, we would have lost who we are, we would have melted. And so this is the amazing untold story of this ancient people. Is not, again, it's not just this miserable story, but it's a story of our survival. How has a broken, beaten, demoralized, and banished nation continued to survive? Has anybody bothered to ask that question? Because there's a beautiful answer that no one wants to seem to want to learn from or to hear. This is a story that I hope to relay every week on this show, simply named The Mona K Show. The reason why I named it The Mona K Show is because I want people to ask, who is Mona? Who's Mona K? Who is this woman? Who's this lady? And I'll be happy to tell you who I am. Because for those of you that know, I don't know how to stop talking. And so I'd love to tell you who I am, and I'd love to tell you who my nation is, and how proud of I am. That if I had been asked, if I had a choice, I would ask to be born in this nation. I want to tell you my personal story and the story of the entire nation's will to survive, even when the enemy came knocking on the doors to steal, kill, and destroy. 3 things: steal, kill, and destroy. Pay the jizya, convert, or die. Those were the enemies when they knocked on our door, on the doors of the people in Baghdad, in Mosul, wherever they were. When they marked them with the red noon, the scarlet letter, that's why. Let me see what someone is saying. Mona, I resemble our nation to Jesus suffering to wipe our sins. We, the Assyrians, are suffering to save the Christians. Yeah, you're absolutely right, my sister Jeanette. And, and this is what we want to tell the world. This is what we want to show them. Because a woman like you and I, practicing our faith and being able to have a program to speak our mind and not be silent, and to criticize and to hold people accountable, is unthinkable. We would have had a target on our back, and I don't know what would have happened. And so just like with my mom, who took 8 children out, and I've told my story a zillion times, I don't want to go there. I could only imagine what my mother would have suffered had she done that. So yeah, they gave them, the same fanatical Islamic enemy that has been coming against us all these years, comes with a different face and a new name, but they're all the same. On yet another day marked the homes of the Christians, smearing their homes with the symbol of death, which is the noon, marked as the scarlet letter to be eliminated one way or another. So they escaped. This is why we are here, and this is why you are here. And the more you are here, the more I can stay here. Why? Because the story cannot stop here. It has to be shared, and it has to be told, and it has to resonate. I don't care about ratings. I care about the story going out there. I have often said I'm not here to do breaking news. I can't break news. There is enough networks out there that enough billions of dollars of commercials. This is a story of someone that started it from the grassroots, from the bottom up. That's why it was so important when I got my membership to the U.S. Media Corps, a press corps. It was so exciting for me because I'm not a network. I'm not CBS and NBC, and I'm not working for a network. We're working for ourselves. We are working as Assyrians, and and we did this ourselves. You and I did this. That's why it's important that we have an independent voice. Um, you see, I've been interviewed and have given many speeches, appeared on my many TV programs. You might have even heard I've written a couple of books on the subject, but all have seemed to have gone to deaf ears. Why? Because the world still will listen only for a few minutes and then read a few chapters and then completely put it out of their minds. This is why it's taken us longer than most, because 6 years we've been on the air. 6 years we've been on the air, and still people are asking who, what, where, Christians. Oh my God, when they hear our story, they're amazed. We are not only reporting the news, but we are the news. So I know in journalism, they'd say, don't become, as a journalist, you got to stay objective. You can't be the news. I can't help it. I am the news. When I say I am the news, that means my nation is the news. Why? Because we are the ones that are making the news. We are here as survivors of many genocides that we will be discussing in the upcoming shows. With this show, we will attempt to raise awareness continuously, bringing real live testimonials of people ongoing struggles, just like what Jeanette just said. We are here to finally break down the walls of division that have separated the Christian body, not only geographically, but spiritually. I'm talking to the church. And Jeanette says, yeah, I think that was the same one, Fred. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Jeanette, for your comments. Always coming into the program and giving us great feedback. A house divided has ensued, leading to our current defeat. We are divided as a body of Christ. For some reason, the West seems to think the Christians of the East are not, they don't resonate with the Christians of the East. But like I said to someone that asked me, do you believe in Jesus? I said, yes. And when I showed him my, he's, the person was seeing my cross, and he said, do you believe in Jesus? I said, yes, we're Christians and we're genocide survivors. And I'm telling him my story. He went on to ask me, just one more question. Is it Jesus of Nazareth? I said, yes, Jesus of Nazareth. And then I proceeded to ask him, where did Jesus come from? And he goes, yeah, that's true. From the Middle East. Exactly. Jesus was Semitic. I'm Semitic. The Arabs are Semitic. The three major religions started in the Middle East. And we in the West seem to have forgotten that those religions come from the Middle East. Just want to check on my clock to see how much more time we've got. Just a few more minutes. So we're going to be talking about how we can come together and work together. Because my question once again is, where's the church? Where's the community of believers that must lift up our brothers in the hour of need? Or has the church taken the position of Cain, saying, I'm not my brother's keeper? Remember in the Bible when Cain and Abel brought their sacrifice? God accepted Abel's sacrifice, but he didn't accept Cain's. And Cain got angry and killed his brother. And then when the blood of Abel screamed out to God, God knew Abel was dead. And so he went to Cain. He said, where's your brother? And what was Cain's answer? Am I my brother's keeper? So are we there? Has the church gotten there where we don't fit in, a Christian genocide survivors don't fit into the calendar of the church that has already been established? And I do say it with the utmost of respect. I respect many preachers and churches, and I'm not coming against anyone. But, we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to, we need to figure out what's going on in our own home. As Christians, we need to link up once again. We need to drop down the walls that are dividing us. You see, you need to understand, just because you stop listening to your pastor's moving speech on that Sunday, who's telling you about what's going on in the world, or stop reading a chapter in a book, or even change the station on the dial of your radio or your TV, it doesn't mean the struggle of the Christians in the Middle East is over. Just know that. This Christmas, marks since 2014 7 years from when ISIS invaded. And there's 7 years people are in refugee camps, that children without toys, or doing with very little. Don't think that out of sight is out of mind, because we will be held accountable. Now, before we end the program, I do have a praise report. And truly, it's one of the most, what they call it, a Christmas miracle. There was a lady that was, a family that was in Jordan for about 5 years. And I was told about them that they needed financial situation. And I won't go into detail as far as what happened as far as the financial situation is concerned. I won't share any of those details. But I will tell you one thing. I've been in continued contact with that family for the past, I want to say, year. And they suffered the most devastating circumstances. They had 3 children. Most devastating circumstances that I know how. One of the stories that I want to tell you about this family, I'll tell you what's happening, and then I'll go back to one of the stories. I received a message about a week ago from the wife that I'd been communicating with, thanking me for my help and my continued contact with them. And it brought me to tears, and I think I'm going to cry right now, but they were able to travel to Canada. And so I haven't been able to speak to them within that week, because I'm sure it took about 2 or 3 days to make the airplane trip to Canada from Jordan. And I'm sure that they are met with their families there. But it was such a great miracle. I couldn't believe it during this time of that we are celebrating the birth of Christ. That to me was the greatest gift that I could receive, is to know that one of the refugees that I'm sure there's many that if I gave the name would know her and helped her. And for those that did help her, I want to let you know that, she is in good hands, and her and her family, after 5 years of suffering in Jordan, they are finally in safety of Canada. So I want to thank Canada for taking them. And of course, I want to thank God first and foremost, and praise his name for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this happy ending, because it's so amazing. And I want to tell you, when I first met this family, she told me the story of her daughter. She was, I believe, 4 or 5 years old and didn't have teeth, and her teeth hadn't come out. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor told her, and I have no medical background to confirm this, but this is the story I'm relaying to you as it was relayed to me. The doctors told her that when she was carrying her, that because of the trauma of what went on, of their escape from Iraq, it affected her daughter. And she didn't end up having, after the daughter was born, the mother didn't have enough milk to breastfeed her. And so for 5 years, the child could not grow teeth. I've never heard of anything like that. And so in Jordan, I don't know who helped her, because there's no medical help. There's no Medicaid or insurance or anything like that. We're able to, surgically open up her gums to be able to allow the teeth to come out. And I don't know what the end result of that was, but these are the kind of stories that breaks my heart. And this is why I'm here today. And this is why we must be here today. As Assyrians, as refugees, as legal immigrants, we must not forget those that we have left behind. It is important that we remain vigilant and we remain faithful and committed. Until the next time, I will be back next week. I want to wish you well. Shlama.
And he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. Write, for these words are true and faithful. The world is not ending. God is preparing a new world soon to begin. An ancient nation thought lost to extinction is soon to rise anew to prepare for that day. Isaiah identified this nation in a prophecy that has been hidden in plain sight for some 2,700 years. Its name is Assyria. My new book, The Assyrian Prophecy, reveals how Assyria will join with Israel and Egypt to bless the world under the soon-coming Messiah. Amid today's chaos, God is searching for righteous people through whom He will bring the prophecy to completion. When you reach the end of this book, one question will be in your mind: Lord, what would you have me to do?